guys, welcome once again to the Coffee and Heroes YouTube show, your one-stop shop for all the comic news of the week, all the TV news, movie news, anything that catches our eye really. Of course, Alan from Coffee and Heroes here as always. So a little bit of catch up as usual on the store this week. So really good busy week. It was nice. I was back in the store a lot more this week. Obviously last week with everything that happened, I'd taken a little bit of time off and Vicky was of course awesome keeping the store going and nice and busy and all the rest. But it was good to be back for a few days this week. I was back sort of from the Tuesday onwards for most of the week, but really great to be back. Really great to see friendly faces. Really great to see more and more of the community. And, you know, once again, thanks to all the well wishes out there and all the sort of comments and, you know, people catching up and all the rest. So, yeah, store was in great shape. Really busy as well. You know, it was a good week for releases. You know, new metal tie-ins. You had, pardon me, you had a little title called Deceased that finally came in. All 3 issues that were missing. Batman Adventures continue getting caught up as well. Tons of great indie stuff as well. So, but we'll get all on to that later as we always do with my sort of favorite titles of the week. The one thing that was the slight negative for coming back was obviously with the restrictions being in place. We can't offer sit-in facilities at the moment. It is a little frustrating when it's one of the key elements of our business. Not just our business, but our community. You know, one of the key aspects we like to think is providing a safe space for people to come, for people to chill out, forget about the outside world. We actually like to think that the store is good for people's mental health as well, you know, because you're just surrounded by like-minded individuals. And it is a bit of a shame we can't really indulge in that at the moment. You know, it's sort of a in, get your comics, how you doing, and leave, because people are so worried and, you know, looking over their shoulder and who's watching and all the rest. So hopefully in the next week or so, there is one more week of these measures in place. I believe it's going to end for cafes and restaurants at the end of next week. So we'll hopefully be able to offer sit-in facilities again. Now we will set it up in a way where it's 2 people maximum to a table, for example. It'll be a case of keeping people spaced out, keeping people feeling safe, you know, knowing that they can come to us and chill out and relax without worrying about people sitting too close and stuff like that. So, you know, we use masks at all times now in the store for new customers walking in. You may walk past and see me not wearing a mask. It's terrible trying to wear it with these glasses when I'm like doing pull lists and stuff like that. But no, anytime a new customer walks in, the masks are straight on. So we want to make sure people feel safe coming into the store and look forward to coming to the store. So yeah, as I say, really great week all round. Another 50 books off at CGC again this week. This is a service that seems to be really connecting with you guys, and I'm really hopeful that all the ones we've sent off will be back before Christmas. You know, obviously we're coming into that season now. Again, just to remind people, we do get vouchers and stuff like that. We've been seeing more and more parents coming into the store, and again, they don't know what to get people, and it's not only just a case of a voucher because they're not sure what to get people, but it then gets the people who the voucher's for into the store, and I can have a good chat with them. Vicky can have a chat, recommend stuff. You know, again, get to know people and also, you know, build the community even further. You know, that was one thing I noticed this week quite a lot was I must have had at least 30 or 40 people through the door, and they were picking stuff up and they were saying, you know, I didn't even know you were here. And that's great. It's great to see the community still growing, people still finding out where we are, and people, you know, hopefully the word is continuing to spread about the store. So the bigger we can make the community, the better. And it's great to be able to lean on each other in these sort of times of support and all the rest. So yeah, store maintenance, really good this week, really busy week again. And based on this lovely invoice I have to my right, another big week next week. But before we get into that, we will, as ever, go over my sort of picks of the week. I've cheated slightly this week. I know I said I wouldn't cheat in this 3 strict picks, for example. But I've slightly cheated this week, and I'll sort of explain why as I go. But this week, I'm going to count this as 1 choice, but it's actually 3. It's here! It arrived! It's finally here. People can stop bugging me. People can stop bugging Tom Taylor. It is now out. So Deceased 3, 4, and 5, I'm going to count as 1 pick this week. My issue, you'll see here, Deceased number 3 is not in a bag and board, unlike 4 and 5. Please don't shout at me. The reason is that a couple of issues arrived damaged. So with that, we report them damaged, we get replacements sent. But what I'll always do is I'll take the hit on that. So I bring back a damaged copy to read. It was sort of the bottom of the issue there, you can see is a little bent and all the rest. We don't feel comfortable selling that type of product. We will always make sure as much as possible that everything is as mint as it can be. Obviously, you can never 100% guarantee everything, but we will always do our best to make sure you get the best possible quality for your comics. So yeah, I brought this one home. And Tuesday night, I was labeling a lot of variants. I should say actually a little bit of store maintenance. We're redesigning a little bit of the way the back issues are done. I completely redid the variant section this week, relabeled everything, repriced everything. Every single variant came down in price, whether it was £1 here, £2 there. But there's not one variant you'll find in those boxes that is more expensive than it was last week. So I set up on the Tuesday night doing all the variants, and I finished at 1 a.m. It was a bit of a late night, and that was only maybe a third of the variants because I had to do it the next couple of nights. But my reward once I finished that was, it was 1 in the morning. Vicky was already away to bed. I sat just down here in the quiet, poured myself a little whiskey, and I read Deceased Dead Planet 3, 4, and 5 back to back, and it was just brilliant. It was everything I wanted it to be, everything I expected it to be. It's funny in places, it's horrifying in places. It plays fast and loose with continuity because it's not beholden to any continuity. So from that point of view, Deceased it continues to be one of my absolute favorite titles, and I suppose that's where some of the frustration was in waiting for it. But, I wasn't alone in this. Loads of people were waiting for it in store. Loads of people were straight down early on Wednesday to pick up their copies. I really can't recommend it enough. Even if you're just a trade reader and you don't really do the single issues, get Deceased, the first one, then read Deceased Unkillables, and then by the time you're caught up in that, Deceased Dead Planet should be pretty much at its end, and the trade won't be far behind. So yeah, this counts as one pick, as I say, so slightly cheating, but Deceased was awesome. I was so happy with it. I'm going to slightly cheat again, and this is actually not a release from this week. This was from last week, but I only got around to reading it this week, and I thought it deserved a bit of love because I thought it was a fantastic issue. I've spoken before on the channel and on the podcast and all the rest about AWA. I love this imprint. Focuses on sort of 5-issue miniseries, 6-issue miniseries, and it's a case of if a title does well, then there'll be a volume 2. So 2 weeks ago there, or a week and a half ago, what launched was Year Zero Volume 2. Now, Year Zero number 1 was a massive hit. Issue 1 became tricky to track down. It's available in trade now, so if you want to catch up, it is available in trade. It's a £9 trade, so it's good value. But what Year Zero is, it's a zombie story, but instead of being like The Walking Dead, where we follow a set group of individuals and their daily struggles and so forth, it actually sets it up with 4 different people of 4 different corners of the world. So it's not just how the zombie apocalypse is affecting America. It might be how it's affecting Peru. It might be how it's affecting Chile, how it's affecting France, Japan. And with Year Zero Volume 1, it followed 4 different characters. And with Volume 2, it's going to follow 4 different characters. So you're still getting the same sort of basic zombie apocalypse stuff, but at the same time, you're getting new stories being told and new characters. This was awesome. I actually think it might be better than the first thus far. Some really great characters being introduced in this. I love the art. So it's written Benjamin Percy. The art is by one Jose Rip. But yeah, it focuses on a fisherman in Norway. You've got a warlord in El Topo. You've got a woman in Phoenix, Arizona, who's trapped inside a mall, which is a great little nod to Dawn of the Dead. And then you've got a guy in Rwanda as well. And yeah, just really impressed with this. I think it's a fantastic format. I think it's a great story. The single issues just look absolutely beautiful as well. There's great character work at the back. This is the kind of bonus you get in single issues as opposed to trades. A lot of the times the supplemental material won't be in trade paperbacks. You'll maybe get them in sort of hardcovers, things like that. But in this, you're sort of getting, behind the scenes stuff with the writers, stuff on the influences, stuff on the design of the characters. But yeah, absolutely adored this. Really recommend jumping on that, guys. Year Zero, Volume 2, number 1. There was still a couple of issues of number 1 on the shelves. They luckily don't look to be as tricky to get as issue 1 of Volume 1. And then we'll just finish off with another favourite this week. And I must admit, this was a pleasant surprise. So this was a one-shot. I know you haven't heard me really talk about Batman thus far. There is a tiny bit of Batman in this, but it's very much punchline. So Punchline was a character introduced just pre-Joker War and then came to fruition and came to the front in Joker War. Punchline is very much a issue of sort of three stories all going on at the same time. So you've got some stuff here from Punchline's past about how she sort of fell for the Joker. You've got some stuff set after Joker War when she's being taken to court and she's trying to sort of plead, I didn't know what was happening, I didn't know what was going on, I didn't kill anyone, but I didn't stop him, all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, you're reintroduced to a character who was called Harper Row, who was introduced by Scott Snyder back in the New 52 run. So it's Harper Row who becomes she's essentially a superhero herself, but she also has a little brother, and the little brother is starting to fall more and more for Punchline's charms and her sort of stories of woe in the media and stuff like that. First of all, it was brilliantly written. Tinian on writing duty, so what more do you expect? But I'm a massive fan of the artist Mirka Andolfo. Did a great series called Mercy, which is hitting trade soon, sort of a Victorian steampunk vampire story. Really recommend that. But Punchline was great. It was just a one-shot. It was tying up some loose ends from Joker War. It was introducing some new ideas and elements which are going to be explored in Tinian's Batman run in 2021, I would imagine, after we have the DC Future State. So a lot of that stuff will maybe not be until March, so you'll have plenty of time to pick that up. Again, just a one-shot, one and done. Great art, great writing, and sets up stuff for the future, so you cannot go wrong with that. So yeah, there was tons of other great stuff as well this week, but again, I like to try and pull it down to a reasonable amount. But let's look at the invoice for next week. So next week, again, tons of great stuff. It's a very DC heavy week next week. I mean, at the moment, it seems to be that every week's an indie heavy week just because of the sheer variety of indie publishers and so forth. But you'll get weeks which are very Marvel heavy and weeks that are very DC heavy. This definitely feels like a DC heavy week. So I'll just take you through it. So kick off with an indie title which looks really great. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. This is a brand new #1. Dark horror title. I believe it's an adaptation of a movie from a couple of years ago, but I think it's going to introduce a couple of new elements as well. Amazing Spider-Man is selling really well, getting really good critical feedback. Guys in the store seem to be digging it. We've got issue 53 coming next week, so continuing the Last Remains storylines. We've got Bang is hitting trade paperback next week. Now, Bang is a great Dark Horse miniseries written by Matt Kindt, and it's art by Wilfredo Torres. Issue 5 just came out there a few weeks ago, and now the trade's out, so it's a really great sort of dark spy, quite meta title, but really, really clever and really, really cool. We've got Batman 103 coming out next week, so continuing with the new storyline that Tinian's setting up there. Just in case you didn't pick up 3 Jokers, which would surprise me, I have to admit, because 3 Jokers, I've never seen a title sell like it. But we have made up some packs in store of 3 Jokers, so if you prefer the single issues, we've made up some packs of the stock that we still have, and we're selling that. But if you're more of a trade paperback / hardcover kind of guy or gal, what we have here is 3 Jokers, the hardcover, is coming next week. Got Commanders in Crisis #2 coming, so part 2 of the Steve Orlando indie superhero series. Really enjoyed issue 1 of that, so give it issue 2 a go. We've got Death Metal #5 coming next week. So we've obviously been peppered with loads of one-shots, tie-ins, all the rest, but we're back to the meat of the series. So #5 coming next week. We've got Die #15 coming next week. So that's going to finish off the 3rd story arc. So I would imagine trade paperback volume 3 won't be far behind on that as well. There's a new Doctor Who series launching next week. So Doctor Who Comics #1. I'm not 100% of this. I'm not a huge Doctor Who guy, but primarily in the past, all the Doctor Who comics have just had it in their title right there. Doctor Who, 13th Doctor, 12th Doctor, 11th Doctor. This is the first one I've seen that's just called Doctor Who Comics. So I don't know if there's going to be crossovers. I don't know if it's going to introduce a couple of different Doctors at the same time. We'll wait and see. But again, I'm not the biggest Doctor Who guy, so, we'll wait and see. What else have we got? We got Fantastic Four #26. So that's kicking off a new run for the Fantastic Four. It's a good time to jump on that, actually, if that's something that interests you. We've got Joker Harley Criminal Sanity #6. So the Black Label title is continuing there. That's going to be 9 issues in total. We have Justice League 57, so that's the last issue of the Death Metal tie-in series. There are a lot of you guys who are on Justice League just for the Death Metal tie-ins. Obviously, once that ends, we'll take it off your pull lists. But if you are enjoying Justice League and you want to stick with it, just let us know. We won't automatically put you on it because you just wanted the Death Metal tie-ins. So once that ends, we would take it off your pull list. But again, if you're enjoying it, easy fix, just let us know and we'll sort that. Good trade paperback hitting next week, which is Ludocrats, which was a story by Kieran Gillen, James Stokoe, I think. And it was just nuts. A real lot of fun though, a lot of fun. We've got Nightwing 76, so this is Nightwing very much back to being Nightwing after Joker War. We have Once in Future number 13, so what was great about Once in Future is the second trade paperback, which covers issues 7 to 12, came out last week. Sold out. I've got more copies coming next week because it just sold so quickly. But what's great about that is if you enjoy Once in Future, trade paperback 2 takes you up to issue 12, and then 13's out this week. So if you want to jump on the single issues, it's a good time for that. We've got Rorschach number 2 coming next week, so Tom King and Jorge Fornes's second issue of that. We have a great looking indie title coming next week called Sea of Sorrows, which is sort of sea set horror. Looks really, really cool. We did a little podcast a little while back with the creators of this. So you have the writer, which is Rich Dueck, and the artist, Alex Cormack. And we interviewed them about this title and loads of other stuff as well. So worth checking out the podcast for that. But I'm really looking forward to that next week. That's up high on my list, I have to say. We got Something That's Killing the Children number 12. So who doesn't love Something That's Killing the Children at this point? I would imagine the second trade's not too far away at this point. You have Star Wars Bounty Hunters next week, number 7. We got issue 3 of Stillwater by Zdarsky and Perez. Always top of the pile as well. Loving that so far. King in Black is kind of kicking off next week, so it's not the main King in Black title, but what we have is Symbiote Spider-Man King in Black number 1. So this is essentially going to be lead-in stuff to King in Black. So again, if you have it on your pull list, for example, you want all the King in Black tie-ins, we'll ensure that's in your list for next week and make sure that you don't miss that. So that's going to be 5 issues, I believe. Got Venom number 30 coming next week as well. I believe it's the last issue of Venom Beyond. And then after that, you'll be jumping head first into King in Black stuff, I would imagine. We've also got Walking Dead Deluxe number 3. So we're hip deep now in the fortnightly releases for Walking Dead. So we're up to number 3. Really enjoying revisiting that, I have to say. First 2 issues, just so well written. Such a well-rounded world. We've got We Live number 2 coming next week. Now, we chatted before about We Live number 1. A little tricky on the first print side of things these days, but we do have the second prints of number 1 coming next week. So if you're just interested in reading it, we've got second prints of number 1 coming there. So love the first issue of this, really class. And then I'll just finish off with You Look Like Death, Tales from the Umbrella Academy. Number 3 is next week of that as well. I should say on top of that, you've got a couple X of Swords ones next week as ever. So you've got X-Force next week, you've got Hellions next week, and you've got Cable next week. So that'll be your next 3 parts of X of Swords, which is rapidly approaching its conclusion. I believe that'll take us up to part 19 of 22. I haven't read it because I had to give up my copies early on, as I stupidly consistently do. I've been told it's great. Loads of guys are coming to it late, really enjoying it. There is going to be an omnibus of it coming out later in the year, so maybe even before the end of this year, and I will probably jump on that because I love me an omnibus. So that's next week taken care of. We'll just jump on to a wee bit of news. There was some interesting stuff hit this week, so just to take you through the stuff that caught our eye anyway. So Geoff Johns has been a stalwart of DC for as long as anybody can remember. He's actually been one of the chief operating officers for, I think, 10 years at this point. And obviously he finished off Doomsday Clock there recently. 3 Jokers has been a big hit. It now appears he is either leaving DC completely or he's starting to indulge in the indie world, a la someone like Snyder, who writes for DC but also for Image. He released some details to, it was the Hollywood Reporter of all places. He released details of a new indie title, which is coming out in April of next year. So written by him, art by his cohort on Doomsday Clock, Gary Frank, and the art's going to be the colors are going to be by Brad Anderson, who was the colorist on Fabok's art on 3 Jokers as well. So alarm bells start ringing straight away because it's the Doomsday Clock team, and that was a title that just did not ship well at all. It did not release on time. It didn't line up how it should have with the rest of the DC universe. It was always a gorgeous book to look at, though. You know, the art by Gary Frank was incredible, but it was just a case of, as a fan, you were frustrated waiting and waiting for it. But just to give you a little bit of detail on this. So the series is set years after a nuclear war which almost destroyed Earth, and named after the one man considered the most dangerous in the radioactive wastelands left inhabitable. So John's created it with Gary Frank. Obviously they worked together before as well in Batman Earth 1. But again, there's supposed to be a Batman Earth 1 Volume 3, and we still haven't got that. So who knows. But yeah, it's scheduled for April of next year. So obviously this is 6 months warning in advance. Hopefully Gary Frank can get ahead of the game here. But just a little bit of stuff here from Geoff Johns. So Gary and I have been secretly working away on Geiger since we finished up Doomsday Clock earlier this year, and we couldn't be more excited to be doing our first creator-owned book for Image. Now that we're miles ahead of the release schedule, we can finally talk about it. Geiger was inspired by the early days of Image when wonderfully all-new graphic characters like Spawn, Savage Dragon and so many more were at the forefront of their publishing line. Now it is interesting, I don't want to speculate too much, but it is interesting that he's making the move away from DC, just as allegations are coming out from Ray Fisher regarding Justice League and all the rest. I don't know who to believe in that whole thing. I'm still of the opinion that you're innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. So I'm not sure, but the timing is slightly curious, I have to say. So Geiger, as I say, from I'll definitely be on this. This is Geoff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson, and that is going to launch in April of next year. So proper early pre-orders right there. There was a little bit of detail, a little more detail, I should say, this week as well for the upcoming Batman Catwoman. So yeah, we're really looking forward to Tom King and Clay Mann's Batman Catwoman, which launches next month, issue 1. It's going to be 12 issues in total. But there was a little bit of an interview this week with Tom King and Clay Mann regarding this, and there was some really interesting stuff to find out. You know, the story itself is going to be set over 3 different time periods. So there's going to be like time in the past when they were attracted to each other, but obviously one was a crime fighter, one was a criminal essentially. Then it's going to be set in the present as they investigate a case together, and this is where Andrea Beaumont / Phantasm is going to come in. And then there's a part in the future as well after Bruce Wayne's death, which is going to be set after that brilliant Batman Annual number 2 that Tom King and I think it was Jorge Fornes did the art on that. So yeah, it was Lee Weeks, I take it back. And it was a fantastic annual. Art was absolutely glorious in it. But yeah, it was great to see. You know, Clay talks about how, you know, he's really proud of the series. He's going to love to look back on it many years' time when, you know, knowing that he did all 12 issues, because you don't really see that often these days. Art gets split between different artists, unless you're Gary Frank and you can just say, I'm not releasing it. So yeah, I really looking forward to this. The more I see about it, the more I cannot wait. There was also some great art shown of Andrea Beaumont as well. And yeah, it's looking class, I have to say. Cannot wait. So, you know, to quote Tom King on it, in bringing Phantasm to the comics, the duo hopes to recapture how your heart raced the first time you saw that character, both in terms of the romance angle and the fright. We're doing this thing where I write the issue a little short, I leave out some pages, and then he reads over the script and says, I want to expand this segment so I can put more of my art in it. And it's almost always an Andrea Beaumont one. You know, from chatting to Clay, again, it was another podcast we did in the past. From chatting to Clay, he was talking about how he really fought to put Phantasm into the comics world. So he clearly wants to do the character justice, which is awesome to see. What else have we got? So there was the news this week. DC Comics promoted Mary Yavins to editor-in-chief. This looks like a great move. You know, she seems very versatile. She seems to know her stuff in and out. Her past editing work has been on stuff like Justice League, Death Metal, but also stuff like DC Superhero Girls, which obviously expanded the line for a broader audience, and things like Exit Stage Left, the Snagglepuss Chronicles, which shows she's not afraid to take a risk as well. So I really welcome this news, I have to say, and it's good to see DC starting to get their ducks in a row, and hopefully once Future State has been, we'll know what DC's plans are moving forward. So very much welcome that news. Away from the comics side of things, just a couple of wee bits and pieces of movie and TV news that caught my eye this week. So you have Chris Pratt is now joining Thor: Love and Thunder. So he obviously, Star-Lord and Thor had plenty of run-ins at the end of Avengers Endgame and so forth, and plenty of, standing against each other, confrontations and stuff. So it's great to see they'll be rejoining for that, and it's great again because it continues to link all these movies together. You do wonder with the future of the Marvel Universe, and of course you've full faith in what they're doing based on their track record. But it was not easy, I want to say, but they all had to unite for a common goal for one villain they established over all these movies. But the ones we've got to look forward to, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, they all seem very disconnected. So it's good to see bits and pieces being connected for that. So we'll see how that goes. Zack Snyder was talking this week about his upcoming Justice League, and all this talk about he's reshooting the whole movie, he's doing loads of stuff, he's bringing actors back, he's doing this, doing that. Apparently the reshoots are going to run for a total of about 4 to 5 minutes of footage. So I don't know if he was just doing pickups or, connecting the dots for certain scenes maybe he was missing, maybe he had storyboards for or animatronics for or stuff like that. So we'll wait and see. But I'm just at the point now, I've spoke about it before, just release the damn thing. You've got the green light, just release it. Bits and pieces TV wise that were quite interesting. So WandaVision is set for January. January 15th is going to be the premiere date for WandaVision. Between WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and Mandalorian, that might finally be enough to tip me over the edge and indulge in Disney Plus. We shall see. But I'm very much looking forward to WandaVision, and I love how different it looks to the rest of the sort of Marvel cinematic / TV universe output. I did see as well, Showtime has announced that filming on the Halo live action series has recommenced. I think you're going to see a lot of news like this in the next couple of months. Obviously, there's been news of a potential vaccine in the world, and people are starting to get the grips more and more with COVID and all the rest. I think you're going to see more and more things going back into production, things that start up again. Really, really hope that cinemas get going again, and it's not just all TV content. But I'm looking forward to this because Halo has always been really cinematic. Halo has always been big on story, and I'll really look forward to this, I have to say. It's going to be in Showtime. Showtime have a track record for adult material, so they won't shy away from the violence, hopefully. That incorporates this world. Not shy away from the violence, maybe that's the wrong term, but they won't soften it for like a PG audience, so to speak. They'll sort of give it the breathing space it needs. Another couple of bits and pieces, just TV news. Umbrella Academy has been renewed for season 3. Obviously doing well. Still need to watch season 1 and 2. But I've nearly finished Cobra Kai. Once again, what a show. Just a couple episodes of that. So Vicky and I are looking for a new show to jump on. So we might actually do Umbrella Academy. And then we can look forward to season 3. And then just one bit of sad news, which was TV related. It's not really comic related, but it was something I enjoyed. There was a great series done by HBO called The Outsider, which Jason Bateman directed some of, starred in some of. It was a great adaptation of a Stephen King book. And HBO have passed on doing a second season, which I think is a real shame because I really dug the first season. But at the same time, they're apparently shopping it around the new network, so they might find a new home for it. I guess we'll wait and see. So yeah, that's going to do it for this week on the Coffee and Hero Show. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy the channel. Feel free to spread the word on it, throw a few likes out there. Any comments, work away. We're always happy to respond to any questions or things you're unsure of. Same goes with social media. Drop us any messages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the usual stuff. We will be getting back to the podcast next week, hopefully, as well. So we'll have a previews one out there and also a reviews one coming soon as well. So we're hopefully getting a bit of normality back with that stuff as well. I'm going to go now because I have more Sin City to read. I've been digging the heck out of Frank Miller's Sin City for the last couple of nights. I've actually looked at my pull list a couple of times and just been like, Sin City. So it's great stuff, I have to say. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good weekend. I hope you're all staying safe out there. I'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take it easy.